You might be wondering if your 4 to 6 month old baby is developing appropriately or not. Let's go ahead and talk about the 10 different red flags that I, as a pediatric occupational therapist, really encourage you as a parent to look into. Now, number one is your baby is not bringing their hands to their mouth, and especially an object. So they should be already trying to grasp objects, and they should already be bringing those objects to their mouth. Now, I have a very detailed video up here, so you could check that out on why I would really encourage and recommend a baby bringing their hands to their mouth, as well as especially toys and objects. And I will go ahead and talk really briefly about it right here. And number one thing is to basically really prepare them for solid foods by 6 months of age. Now, typically babies are not 100% ready by 6 months because there has to be some prerequisites, but I firmly believe that it's very important for the baby to put objects such as mouthing toys that are long sticks to be able to help them push back that gag reflex, as well as lateralize their tongue or move their tongue from side to side, as well as explore their mouth and exploration of their hands. This leads me to red flag number 2 is the baby is not reaching with both hands symmetrically. So they are preferring one particular side of the hand, and they're constantly wanting to either reach with the right side or reach with the left side. Now, typically babies do have a little bit of a preference, but it's very important to really practice on the side that they're really not wanting to reach with. And if you're really noticing that there's somewhat of a grasp weakness or even difficulty with reaching with one arm versus the other side, and even if you start grabbing your baby's arms and you're reaching them and pulling them over to their side, and you're realizing that there's one shoulder that's a little bit more tighter than the other side, definitely speak to your pediatrician about that and get him into therapy as soon as possible. This leads over to number 3. Red flag number 3 is when the baby is constantly fisting or clenching their hands, and they're really not opening their hands often. And we start realizing this because you have to clean in between their fingers, or you're realizing that their hands are a little smelly, or they're very moist in between the palm of their hands. And we definitely don't want that to happen between 4 to 6 months. They should not have clenched hands when they're sleeping, and clenched hands also when they are awake. Red flag number 4, when it comes to creasing also in the neck, and this also happens with very chunky babies, we do want to see a neck. And we want to make sure that just because they're chunky doesn't necessarily mean that they have no neck at all whatsoever, and that they always have a wet, chunky neck that we always have to constantly clean. That's not necessarily what we want to do or what we want to see. We do want to see a little bit of a neck, and we want to bring those shoulders a little bit more down, and we don't want to see that elevation and the tightness of the shoulders close to the ears. We want to make sure that they are nice and loose and they're not super tight. And if you do realize that there is some tightness, especially neck tightness, this also leads me over to red flag number 5, where the baby is constantly turning their head or tilting their head to one particular side. We also don't want the baby to have one crease or one side that's a little bit wetter than the other side, because that comes to show me that the baby is either has some sort of torticollis and will likely have a head flattening in the back of the head for either brachycephaly or plagiocephaly, which is one side of the head, which is either the left or the right side. Now, if you guys are realizing and noticing that, then we don't want to see that, because it could be either tension or tightness issue, or it could also be a visual issue as well too, with particular double vision that we want to double check and see when it comes to evaluating the baby during therapy. Red flag number 6 is the baby is not holding their head upright, and there is some head, or I should say neck weakness. And we're realizing that when you're holding the baby from their back all the way upright in a particular sitting position or in a supported position if they're over your shoulder, we want to make sure that their head is really nice and steady, and it should not be wobbling like it was in the newborn stage. Now, by 6 months of age, they should already have a really good steady head, because by this age, they should have a little bit more of a supported sitting position. I know that babies aren't supposed to sit till 9 months of age max, but by 6 to 9 months, as I've mentioned, they should be working a little bit on that sitting position, but they should also have a good steady neck when they're on their tummy. And they should already be lifting their head up at least by 45 degrees when they're on their tummy. That shows me that their neck is really nice and strong. This leads me over to red flag number 7. Your baby is not rolling over by 6 months. Now we want the baby to roll over from their back to their tummy and tummy to back on both sides. And make sure that the baby is able to do that very nicely and not arching back. That leads me over to red flag number 8, where your baby is constantly arching. Now, if your baby is rolling from back to tummy and they're using more of their back muscles, I'll show you a video here, then that is showing me that the baby has a really strong back, or I should say a tense back. And we do not want to see that at all whatsoever, because we want to make sure that your baby is using more of their abdominal muscles. And here in this particular video, I show you on how to encourage that and to be able to utilize more of their abdominal muscles rather than their back muscles, because we want to make sure that they have nice core muscles for sitting upright, for crawling, and also for walking later on. So we have to make sure that their baby is already doing that. Red flag number 9 is when your baby continues to hate tummy time. Now, this is already a red flag as it is already, especially by 4 months of age. Your baby should already at least attempt to enjoy a minute or 2 on their tummy. Now, I'm not saying that it should be every single time that you place them on their tummy that they should already love it and they should be smiling and giggling. Obviously, there are babies that have needs. So for example, if they need to eat, or if they need to go to sleep, or they're overly tired, so obviously there's different types of situations that can arise when it comes to tummy time or not wanting to be on their tummy. But it's very important to make sure that your baby, when you're placing them on their tummy, do certainly enjoy it at least, and are really trying to play in their while they're on their tummy, because that shows me that they already have a good amount of strength, they have a good amount of tolerance, and this will help with crawling and help them transition also from their tummy to sitting position later on as they get stronger and as they start to learn different types of transitions and positions. And last but not least, red flag number 10, we want to make sure that your baby is already cooing and smiling. But if they're not doing any of this by 4 to 6 months, definitely we want to check their hearing. We want to double check and see if there's anything that we're missing with that. We also want to double check and see that the baby is following you from one side of the room to the other side of the room as well too. And if they're not, then we might want to check for their vision as well too. They should also be vocalizing, so they should already be doing the ah sound or more of the grunting kind of sounds, any types of laughing sounds as well too by 6 months of age. Hopefully this video was very helpful for you to know more of those red flags and to help you be more proactive and get the help that you need for your little one and your baby. Hope you have a great day, and if you have any other further questions or concerns, go ahead and comment below. I'd love to help you guys. Bye-bye.